Hello, greetings. Welcome to Attaining the Second Cognition. This is Doug Michael. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for taking your time to listen and to open your mind and to consider this information. I greatly appreciate it. There are many people who have been on their quest for cognitive advancement for decades now. They have searched and searched for valid information, finding breadcrumbs in the collected spiritual teachings over the years, yet those who did not get hopelessly stuck in doctrinal cesspools have always known on an instinctual level that there was something more, that some puzzle piece was missing from the equation. These people have sought answers for years, despite the absence of valid information in the marketplace, and having found the information we're providing in these videos, many probably ask themselves the topic of this video, which is why we are doing this now. The first thing I would like our listeners and subscribers to understand is that there is a bigger game plan at work that most have not realized and that even more are going to be unwilling to accept. The fact is that this war we have explained about has been going on for eons, with the Hapim hives and their tyrannical partners on one side of this equation and the, shall we say, cognitive warriors on the other. Over the eons of this continual war to free consciousness throughout the multiverse, there have been wins and losses on both sides. Our side, shall we say, the forces of freedom, has had some well-laid plans blow up in our faces on more than one occasion, and so has their side. Without the full understanding of the Hapim hive mind until just recently, we never really knew what we were fighting. The Hapim virus has been an enigma and unseen enemy that we just couldn't quite get our hands on to define exactly why the tyrants always seemed to have an edge over whatever efforts we put forth to stop the tyranny. Given the nature of the individual Hapim cells and their connection to their overall hive clusters, we have fought this war with a hidden and ever-present spy in our midst that we could never flesh out because it was a gigantic unknown. Discovering the virus itself and its machinations, we are now in a position to put all the hives completely out of business forever. And this begins with the willingness to cast down your own cognitive chains first. Many pieces had to fall into place before we could make our move, and we had to stand aside until the opposition revealed their hand. In essence, we had to wait until they played all of their cards before we could finally trump their game and take home all the marbles. What I would like you to consider, ladies and gentlemen, is the fact that the Hapim hives and their incarnate consortium allies all over the multiverse have worked for eons working toward this moment. They have spent hundreds of thousands of years seeking the overall conquering of the multiverse with the idea that creation would become their playground to do with as they saw fit. The reason that our move wasn't made until this point in time is because we had to allow them to believe they had the upper hand. By allowing them the time to formulate their doctrines, they ultimately revealed their strategies in their sublime overconfidence, thinking they had the game all sewn up to their ultimate advantage. Through the course of letting them perceive that they had free rein to accomplish what they set out to do, we started our own operation of infiltration and data delivery. We planted the seeds of awareness and content to trigger ground crew into awakening right in the middle of their doctrines. While they stole our truth and burdened it with Hapim hive lies, we managed to insert our own triggers for awakening ground crew in the material they thought was under their control. We find these triggers wrapped in New Age nonsense in Bringers of the Dawn, as well as in Conversations with God Book 1. Triggers were inserted into films like The Matrix and Revolver. The Internet, which they designed as one of their own systems of information control, has backfired on them, and those who are diligent in their research are learning and publishing articles and videos exposing Fabianism and its connections to Theosophy and the umbrella of the Lucis Trust. Although many researchers have been misdirected through their own Hapim-controlled belief systems, more and more people are becoming aware of the global tyranny. Those who don't get stuck in their religious traps about prophecies being fulfilled are advancing beyond these religious constraints and seeing that their own biblical beliefs are coming into question. People who have been caught up in the New Age have started to challenge the channeled filth piped down by the ascended masters. Regardless of the control of the media and the attempted control of information on the Internet, the cracks in the first cognition world have appeared, and they are growing larger by the day. By the moment. In order to have a greater understanding of the ground crew mission and plan, one only needs to read the New Paradigm trilogy to discover that much of what was forecasted in those books is now coming into being as a reality, the second cognition reality. There is only a mere 16 years separating the composition of those books and what Endall offered as the second cognition awareness in his first book. In that 16 years and the time since those books were composed, we have devised the weapon to utterly destroy eons of planning by the Hapim tyrants. Can you imagine their worry after thinking they had this whole war locked down after thousands of years of human cognitive tyranny and see it evaporate in such a few short years? What an exciting time to be alive, experiencing in the here and now. They had to play all of their cards before we could bring this forward. We observed them as they created religion after religion, one mystical tradition after another. We watched as they created these doctrines, and we have had our agents leaving messages for the ground crew along the way, dropping bombs into their plans for over 2,000 years. Buddha was one of the ground crew, Emmanuel was another, Nietzsche was one of the ground crew, and so was Don Juan, and there have been many others too. Each of these individuals left a mark on our world that can't be erased. At best, their messages could only be hijacked, but never destroyed. George Green facilitated the publishing of the New Paradigm books, and he's ground crew, and now the Beals, myself, and others we're working with are doing our part to utterly unravel the tapestry of well-laid lies formulated by the consortium and their Hapim hive allies. We had to wait until they worked to harmonize all their contrived spiritual doctrines into one basket before we would assault and ultimately destroy all of their well-laid plans. We are doing this now because the Hapim hive controllers have no other spiritual or religious mythology they can peddle to humanity. They have shot their wad, folks, and there are no more rabbits in their hat. If you look at every modern spiritual doctrine, it is nothing but a rehash of what came before it. They produce nothing new because they have nothing new to offer to this equation. They have no new political ideologies because they have run the gamut of their limited hive mentality. They have no spiritual doctrines for the same reason. Hell, even Hollywood has run out of ideas, constantly dredging up and remaking old movies because their scriptwriters are out of any new concepts to deliver to the public. I mean, give me a break. The Brady Bunch movie? How desperate are they? What's next? Happy Days meets Freddy Krueger? They have run their superhero heroes quest ideas into the ground, and all they can do is turn these superhero films into dark conflicts. Hollyweird keeps pumping out films glorifying serial killers and drug dealers and horror movies galore. How many ways can you decapitate people and rip their guts out before you get an idea that the shit doesn't sell, except to the adolescent mind? Everywhere we look in the consortium Hapim mind control mill, all we see is repetition. It's the same shit over and over again. Sex, violence, and nostalgia to make people's Hapims yearn for the glory days of old. The hive is out of information. It is out of offering anything new to this equation, and we had to wait for all these scenarios to play out to their ultimate end before it was our turn to stomp the shit out of their systems of control. They have nothing new to throw at us, and that is why we are doing this now. All they have to offer humanity is more of the same old, tired shit, and people are getting tired of this one-note song called tyranny. The only thing that is going to provide humanity a way out is something truly new and different, something that is not a repeating theme of tyranny and tireless, repetitive routines in our jobs, in our lives, in our governments, and what is laughingly referred to as entertainment. The first cognition system is a broken record, ladies and gentlemen. It is a phonograph needle stuck playing the same phrase over and over again. As more and more people realize this, more are going to gravitate to the second cognition world of the new paradigm, for that is the only solution to living a life running on someone else's hamster wheel. What I have covered so far is all the reality that the hive mind can produce, and much of humanity is tired of this repetitive diet and seeking the answer. Political activism is not going to change this, neither is protesting or waving placards in the streets, voting in elections where the candidates are vetted by the consortium before being presented to the public as a superficial voting choice, or begging for one god or another to take people to their own version of the happy hunting ground. There is absolutely nothing left for this hive-contrived system to offer humanity. Nothing whatsoever. It is a system of repeating errors that will only continue to repeat the same mistakes ad infinitum. Don't you think it is well past time for a genuine change? Ladies and gentlemen, you are that change. As I've emphasized every step of the way, the solution lies within the individual, but as long as we choose to remain within our perceptual boxes, propping up the walls of our cognitive fortresses, we will forever be spinning our wheels, going nowhere, and in fact, moving backwards. The answer lies in the creation of something completely new. We cannot look to authorities, corrupted systems, or archaic ideologies to provide us the answer of what that is. That would not be something new. A true warrior must first conquer their own inner tyrant, the virus attached to the secondary consciousness, the ego program within their own minds. Now, as long as you are asking another to provide you with the answer of, well, what should I do? Well, then you're missing the fucking point. You already have that answer. It's just been buried underneath layers upon layers of cognitive conditioning and cultural programming. The ever-present whisper of truth lies underneath the constant blare of the happeem and its discordant noise. The truth that you can make a difference, that you are not a lesser being, that your direction and purpose is entirely up to you. The truth that you are not just little poor me, existing at the whim of some capricious God who demands that you fawn at his feet and obey for fear of punishment. It is far past the time for humans becoming to transcend these erroneous and dead-end concepts. They're no longer relevant. Wherever your attention and intention is focused will experientially act as a mirror reflecting back upon you, what you're creating. I would suggest also that it reflects much of that which needs healing. This is the law of attraction. The outcome of your attention may not present itself in obvious ways, but far more likely in subtle ways. Oh, but I'll tell you this, without intention, only half of the energetic equation is present. Intention is the focal point. Without that, your attention is simply misdirected and, shall we say, harvested. Everything, and I mean everything, in this superimposed, cultural, artificial, made-for-TV reality is a predefined perceptual illusion. Now, some alleged dollar store shamans or teachers or experts or whatever the fuck it is they call themselves will claim that all reality is an illusion. What utter nonsense. How ridiculous is that assertion? Your focal point of energy is misdirected with the absence of intent, and that is how the artificial reality is kept maintained. Lack of willful intent is the fuel that maintains your perceptual prison. The simulacrum thrives because the focal point of energy, intent, is completely misguided and in fact bred out of us from the moment we begin to discover our self-awareness as children. That being said, once we discover this horrible truth, we can flush the idea of victimhood right down the toilet because operating within the understanding of how powerful our intent truly is leaves no room for the docile victim. The victim is never responsible for their own circumstances, and this lie is fostered with reckless and destructive zeal. If your focal point is misdirected towards the unintentional intention to live, think, act, and emote as a victim, then you will always be one, plain and simple. The ones who are encouraging and manipulating this misdirection of energy do so because they need to in order to survive. Oh, they have intent. Well, of course they do. The difference is that their intent is directed towards purposes and outcomes that are so completely discordant and out of balance that they need a coerced humanity, an entire species, to provide the energy and act as step-down transformers to maintain their superimposed, disharmonious, imbalanced, and completely corrupted artificial lie. Where is your attention? Do you focus too much upon the lie? More importantly, where is your intention? Can you blend your attention with your intention to command your own focal point of energy? It's certainly worth a shot, isn't it? I would suggest that discovering and implementing the ability to do so is the only way out of this mess that we find ourselves within, both personally and collectively. When you can step back and observe with open eyes the desperation, the folly, and utter lack of ability to sustain itself, you can begin to see the system and its orchestrators for what they are, an absolute joke. I withdraw my attention and intention from their stupid game. It's time to move on. One thing to consider also that I think far too many forget is that the earth itself is going to have the final say. Nature holds all of the aces in the deck, and the ones who thrive on tyranny are like a target for the forces of balance and harmony. They know their time is up, and they are making every desperate and pathetic attempt to keep their crumbling system in place. They will fail. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the simple definition of real is actually existing or happening, not imaginary, not fake, false, or artificial. Important and deserving to be regarded or treated in a serious way. Nothing is real? Bullshit. Any peddler of mystical twaddle or materialist ideologies that promotes that nonsense is either completely lost or an agent of the simulacrum, in many cases both. Let me tell you what is real. Your passions, your joys, your highs and your lows, your ecstasy and your suffering, your experience is real. Material things are transient. The connection that you feel when you look into the eyes of your child or your lover, that's real. The breathtaking awe that embraces you when you gaze at a sunset or cuddle with a beloved pet, that's real. Most importantly, your focal point of energy in what you bring to your reality is real. Claim it. Life is completely meaningless. That is, until you bring it forth into your experience, onto your canvas, and create that meaning. That, ladies and gentlemen, is real. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for taking your time to spend with me. I really greatly appreciate it. I extend my gratitude, of course, and my heartfelt thanks to any and to all who take the time to open their minds to search for the truth and to push forward in their own cognitive advancement and their own willful evolution. So thank you. I really, really greatly appreciate it. I do need to take a hiatus for a couple months to deal with personal life issues and whatnot, but I will be back. I look forward to speaking with you all once again. Thank you to all my subscribers. I really do appreciate you taking the time to consider this information. It really is deeply appreciated. So thank you one and all. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is Doug Michael, and until next time, walk in peace.